Are you the type of person who always feels like you're not doing enough, or you yourself are not enough? That feels disempowering, doesn't it? Today, I want to give you an exercise for working through those feelings because they are all too familiar for me as well. So the first step here, step one, is to acknowledge that it is not really about where you are at right now that is the problem. It is your perspective and your mindset about it that is the issue. So I have an example here from my own personal life. So one of my thoughts that can come up when this whole not enoughness kind of aspect comes into play, one of my thoughts is, I am only an indie author and I'm not traditionally published. So I have two aspects to my business. On the one side, I am an anti-hustle productivity strategist and a success and life coach. And the other side of my business is where I write romantic comedy novels. So this whole thought can come up for me. I'm only an indie author and I'm not traditionally published. If that was the case, that I was traditionally published, then my thought process would probably be, well, it doesn't count because it's too small of a traditional publication company. It's not one of the big, gigantic ones. If it was one of the big, gigantic ones, then my thought process would probably be, oh, I haven't sold enough books yet. If I did sell a lot of books, then my thought process might be, well, I'm not on a bestseller list yet. If I was on a bestseller list, then it might be, oh, I'm not at the top of the bestseller list. And if I was at the top of the bestseller list, then my thought process might be, I don't have a movie deal yet or a TV deal yet. If I did have that, then my thought process might be, I haven't won an award yet, etc., etc., etc. So you can see how this thought process just constantly builds. It's always not enough. There's always more things that I could be. It's always only this or just that. So the point here is that it's not really about where you are at in the moment. It's about how you are thinking about where you are at in the moment. So that is something internal, which you can work through. It is an internal bottleneck, not an external obstacle. That's a really, really important distinction to make. And I do want to make mention here that internal bottlenecks can absolutely be exacerbated by external obstacles. That is a whole other topic for another day. The point here is that it is an internal bottleneck that we are addressing in this particular video. When it comes to these whole feelings of not enoughness, that is internal, that is a mindset block. So what do we do about it? The next step here, after we acknowledge that it is a mindset block, is to center ourselves and regain some perspective. The question to ask is, what would my past self, who wasn't here, think about where I currently am? So in this example of writing novels, the thought process began with, I am only an indie author and I am not traditionally published. Well, my past self hasn't even written the book yet. They haven't even published a book yet. They would be so impressed that I am an indie author. So you can see how this really brings an appreciation and a gratitude and perspective to this whole situation. So hit the like button to give this video the thumbs up if this is resonating with you. This leads us to step 3, where you want to channel the not enoughness into something productive. Rather than that mentality of, I'm just at this stage, or I'm only at this part of the process, I'm only doing that thing. We want to channel that thought into something useful. So we begin by identifying, okay, here is where I am. This is where I am. I'm right here. So you can see that we are removing that dismissive word of just or only. We're removing that sort of qualification that you have been previously using. Now, based on what is true, for example, I am an indie author. I am self-published. I am not traditionally published. What goals do I want to work toward? Do I even want to be traditionally published? Or is there something else that I want, that I am attaching the traditional publication to? Whatever it happens to be that I do actually want, what steps can I take to move in that direction? So you can see that once you have this clarity around what it is that you actually do want, then you can build out the strategy for getting there. You regain your power because you can take the action on it and do something about it. And at this point, you probably are going to have some work to do around figuring out what it is that you do truly want. If you truly want that goal versus something else, what meaning you are attaching to a particular goal, all of those types of things. So that is again, a whole other topic. I do have a video on that, so I will share that link in the show notes as well. To recap, for today, our 3 steps when it comes to this whole concept of not enoughness, these 3 steps are: number 1, acknowledge that it's not really about where you're at right now that's the problem. It is your perspective and your mindset that is the issue. Step 2, center yourself and regain perspective. And step 3, channel that not enoughness into something productive. So give this a try and let me know in the comments how it works out for you. Now, I am an internationally board certified success and life coach, and my clients get incredible results with the mindset work that we do. We identify and unpack your internal bottlenecks, just like this example of working through those feelings of not enoughness, and we process them together in our coaching sessions. The thought processes, belief systems, internal mindset shifts, and intentional actions that you take are all going to be fully customized to your unique situation so that you get the most benefits from this experience. So again, today's video is an example of how this can work. The types of questions and the approach that we might take will be unique to you. So this can be a lovely example of something that you can start to work through and try out for size in your own situation. But I would strongly recommend that we do work together on this in a coaching session so that we can really customize it to you, so that we can really dig into what's going on in your situation and unpack and work through that. Book a coaching session with me today, and we can work on this together at saganmorrow.com/coaching. Link is in the show notes.